Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In today's lecture, we will talk about the connections of the basal ganglion. What are the connections of the basal ganglion, or what are the pathways? There are two main pathways, that is direct pathway and indirect pathway. And there is the third pathway also, that is nigrostriatal pathway. Now, direct pathway. Now, knowledge of these pathways is very important to understand the effects of lesions of these pathways, effects of lesions of the nuclei of basal ganglion. So, the direct pathway. This is cerebral cortex, motor cortex of a cerebral hemisphere, a section through the cerebral cortex. Outside gray matter and inside white matter. Cerebral cortex. This is lentiform nucleus. You know, it comprises of outside putamen, and inside is globus pallidus. This is globus pallidus externus, globus pallidus internus. Then this is a thalamus. Now, from the motor cortex, the nerve fibers, they arise from the neurons of the gray matter of the cerebral cortex, and they enter the putamen. Now from the putamen, again nerve fibers arise. Cross the globus pallidus externus without relay and enter the globus pallidus internus where they relay. From the globus pallidus internus, again axons of the neurons, they leave the lentiform nucleus and relay in the thalamus. And from the thalamus, again nerve fibers arise to enter the motor cortex. Now these nerve fibers which rise from the cerebral cortex to enter the putamen are known as corticostriatal fibers because they arise from the cerebral cortex and relay in the putamen, which is part of the corpus striatum, so it's known as the corpostriatal fibers. Then from the putamen or striatum, the fibers arises which pass through the globus pallidus externus without relay and enter into the globus pallidus internus. These fibers are known as the striatopallidal fibers. Striatopallidal fibers from striatum to the globus pallidus internus. Then again the axons from the neurons of the globus pallidus internus, they leave the lentiform nucleus and enter the thalamus. These are known as the pallidothalamic fibers. Then from the thalamus, the nerve fibers arise which relay in the motor cortex, known as the thalamocortical fibers. The arrows show direction of these nerve fibers. Now from the motor cortex, then the nerve fibers arise in the form of descending tracts. For example, corticonuclear tracts corticospinal tracts. These are upper motor neuron fibers. These descending tracts, some of the tracts, that is the corticonuclear tracts, they terminate in different motor nuclei of the brainstem. And the corticospinal tracts, as their name indicate, pass through the brainstem, enter the spinal cord, where they terminate into the anterior horn of spinal cord at different levels. So these are corticospinal tracts. So collectively these belong to the upper motor neuron. Then from the brainstem and from the anterior horn of the spinal cord, lower motor neuron arise. Which supply the innervate the muscles required for the movements. Now I'll give one example. For example, if we cut a section through the spinal cord, the center is central canal, inside is the gray matter of the spinal cord. And then from the spinal cord, dorsal root arise, characterized by presence of dorsal root ganglion and ventral root. The dorsal and ventral root join together to form a spinal nerve. Now these corticospinal fibers, they enter the spinal cord and terminate in the anterior horn. Of spinal cord, and from the anterior horn of the spinal cord, motor neurons arise. Motor neurons are located in the anterior horn of the spinal cord, and their axons leave through the ventral root, then spinal nerve, and supply the muscles. The dorsal root through the dorsal root, the sensory nerve fibers pass inside the spinal cord and relay in the posterior horn. So posterior horn is sensory in function and anterior horn is motor in function. So from the cerebral cortex to the motor nuclei of brainstem and anterior horn and spinal cord, that pathway is called upper motor neuron. And then from the brainstem and from the anterior horn and spinal cord, this is the second order neuron. So these are lower motor neurons. This was the direct pathway of basal ganglion. Then here is subthalamic nucleus. which is also part of the basal ganglia. Now, this was direct pathway. Now, what is the second pathway? That is the indirect pathway. जल्दी करो, लाओ सब सुस्त हो रहे हैं, गीला करो कपड़ा, ऐसे ही पहली बार आया हुआ। Now next is the indirect pathway. Again, a section through the cerebral cortex, motor cortex of a cerebral hemisphere. Gray matter and white matter. Cerebral cortex. Again, lentiform nucleus. Lentiform nucleus comprising of putamen outside, globus pallidus externus, globus pallidus internus. This is subthalamus. Now again, the corticostriatal fibers arise from the motor cortex to the putamen. Corticostriatal fibers. This is putamen. Globus pallidus externus, globus pallidus internus, and this is thalamus. And this is a subthalamus. कम अकल है खुदा का कसम, किसी गधों से वास्ता पल है। From the motor cortex to the putamen, that is striatum, corticospinal fibers arise and relay in the putamen. Then from the putamen, then again nerve fibers arise which enter the globus pallidus internus. Globus pallidus externus. From the globus pallidus externus, again axons of the nerve fibers arise and they enter the subthalamus. From the subthalamus, again the nerve fibers arise from the subthalamus and enter the globus pallidus. Globus pallidus internus. Then from the globus pallidus internus, the nerve fibers arise to relay in the thalamus. And from the thalamus, again nerve fibers arise to relay in the motor cortex. So, indirect pathway from the motor cortex, the fibers arise known as the corticostriatal fibers because they enter the putamen of the lentiform nucleus. Then from the putamen of the lentiform nucleus, again the nerve fibers arise which relay in the globus pallidus externus. From the globus pallidus externus, the fibers leave the lentiform nucleus to enter the subthalamus where these are relayed. From the subthalamus, again the axons arises, nerve fibers arises which re-enter the lentiform nucleus, and where they relay in the globus pallidus internus. From the globus pallidus internus, the axons arises which relay in the thalamus, and from the thalamus back to the cerebral cortex. And from the cerebral cortex, same pathway, again the descending tracts. That is upper motor neuron, then lower motor neuron, then to the muscles. So these fibers which rise from the cerebral cortex to the putamen corticostriatal fiber, same as that in case of direct pathway. Then the fibers arise from putamen to relay in the globus pallidus externus, from the globus pallidus externus to the subthalamus, and from the subthalamus again to the globus pallidus internus. So first they relay in the globus pallidus externus connected with the subthalamus, and then again re-enter the globus pallidus internus, and from here to the thalamus, from the thalamus to the motor cortex. These fibers are known as the thalamocortical fibers, pallidothalamic fibers. Pallido from the globus pallidus to the thalamus. Pallidothalamic fibers. Now here in the direct pathway, the corticostriatal fibers, here again the corticostriatal fibers, then from the putamen, the fibers pass without relay through the globus pallidus externus into the globus pallidus internus. These fibers are known as the striatopallidal fibers, from striatum, putamen to the globus pallidus, and from the globus pallidus internus to the thalamus. These are called pallidothalamic fibers. From the thalamus to the motor cortex, thalamocortical fibers. Now here again you can see the corticostriatal fiber from the cortex to the putamen. From the putamen, these fibers enter the globus pallidus externus, and from the globus pallidus externus the fibers arise which relay in the subthalamus, and from the subthalamus again to the globus pallidus internus, then from the globus pallidus internus to the thalamus, pallidothalamic fibers, from the thalamus to the motor cortex, that is the thalamocortical fibers. So you can see two main differences in the direct and indirect pathway. Now direct pathway, you can see from the putamen, the fibers, they just cross through the globus pallidus externus and relay in the globus pallidus internus. And here you can see the fibers from putamen enter the globus pallidus externus where they relay. They do not relay directly into the globus pallidus internus. They leave the globus pallidus externus to connect with the subthalamic nucleus in the subthalamus, and from here again the fibers arise which now enter the globus pallidus internus, not globus pallidus externus. And from the globus pallidus externus, the same pathway, the pallidothalamic and then the thalamocortical fibers. This is one difference. Here, the neurons, the nerve fibers from putamen relay in the globus pallidus internus, not in the globus pallidus externus. And here, from the putamen, the fibers relay first in the globus pallidus externus, then the subthalamus, and then globus pallidus internus. So this is indirect, this is direct pathway from cortex to lentiform nucleus, then to thalamus, and again cortex. Here it is indirect. Why? Because from cortex to the lentiform nucleus, instead of from lentiform nucleus directly to the thalamus, it forms a loop which connect with the subthalamic nucleus, and from the subthalamic again to the lentiform nucleus, and from the lentiform nucleus the rest of the pathway is same. So this is a small loop. Which is in the indirect pathway of the basal ganglion. So direct pathway, indirect pathway. What are differences between these two? Direct pathway and indirect path. What are the differences between these two pathways? So, number one, direct pathway is of shorter length as compared to indirect pathway. Direct pathway, as you can see, this is the length of direct pathway. Compare it with the indirect pathway. You can see this loop is added. So the indirect pathway is longer as compared to the direct pathway. Number two, the direct pathway is stimulatory. It stimulates, while the indirect pathway is inhibitory pathway. Direct pathway stimulate, or indirect pathway it inhibit. Because direct pathway it is stimulatory, so here it will stimulate the upper and then lower motor neurons. Stimulate first the upper motor neurons and then the lower motor neurons. I mean to say, this pathway will stimulate the thalamus, and the thalamus will stimulate the thalamocortical fibers to stimulate the motor cortex, and the motor cortex in turn will stimulate the upper motor neurons, then lower motor neurons, which supply the muscles. Therefore, because it is a stimulatory pathway, the muscles will contract. If you compare with the indirect pathway, is inhibitory, and therefore it inhibits the upper motor neurons and then the lower motor neurons. Because it is inhibitory, therefore the muscles will relax. So these are the differences. Number one, connection wise, and number two, other features like direct pathway is shorter as compared to the indirect pathway, because here this loop is included and the subthalamus is included. Here there is no connection with the subthalamus. So the direct pathway is stimulatory, the indirect pathway is inhibitory. Therefore, when the direct pathway stimulated, it stimulates the muscle, therefore the muscles will contract. And inhibitory pathway will inhibit, therefore the muscle will relax. So these are some major differences between right and left, direct and indirect, between the direct and indirect pathways. पता नहीं यार कैसे लोग हैं, किस किस्म के कम अकल है। Now, for the direct pathway, we have drawn this diagram. For the indirect pathway, we drawn this diagram. Let us combine these two, both direct and indirect pathways. Number 3. Both direct and indirect pathways. Diagram showing both direct and indirect pathways. Now, for this key, now these red lines indicate direct pathway. Next blue indicates indirect. Pathway. So you can see the corticostriatal fibers. The corticostriatal fibers enter the putamen. From the putamen, these fibers enter the globus pallidus internus. Globus pallidus externus. Then from the globus pallidus externus, the fibers arise, leave the rentiform nucleus to enter the subthalamus. Then from the subthalamus, again the fibers arise, which leave the subthalamus to relay in the globus pallidus internus. And from the globus pallidus internus, the fibers arise, which enter the thalamus. And from the thalamus, the fibers enter the motor cortex. So these green lines indicate the indirect pathway. So the corticostriatal fibers, then from the putamen to the globus externus, then from the globus externus to the subthalamus. These fibers are known as striatopalladal fibers. Striatopalladal fibers from the globus pallidus externus to the subthalamus, and then from the subthalamus to the globus pallidus internus, and then the pallidothalamic fibers from globus pallidus internus to the thalamus, and then the thalamocortical fibers from the thalamus to the cerebral cortex, and then the descending tracts. That is upper motor neuron, same pathway, then lower motor neurons, and then muscles. The direct pathway, it will stimulate and cause the muscles to contract. And the indirect pathway, the green one, will result in muscle relaxation because it is inhibitory pathway. And this is the loop, extra loop in case of indirect pathway. And the differences just we described. Now number 4. यार कितना बेवकूफ़ आदमी है ये, इंतहा है बेवकूफ़ी की, इंतहा है बेवकूफ़ी की। Now I told you there is another extra pathway. There is an extra pathway. That is the connection of base the substantia nigra connection of substantia nigra with the basal ganglia. Role of dopamine that is the nigrostriatal pathway. Nigrostriatal pathway. This figure number 3 is combination of both direct and indirect pathway. So I will again reuse this diagram for this additional pathway, nigrostriatal pathway. In other words, is there any connection of substantia nigra with the basal ganglion or not? Because substantia nigra is also a major part of the basal ganglion and located in the midbrain. And the substantia nigra have dopaminergic neurons, release dopamine. So in other words, what is the role of dopamine? And the connection is called nigrostriatal pathway. So substantia nigra now this is suppose substantia nigra. You know, substantia nigra, it is in the midbrain. So if you cut a section of the midbrain, these are the two crus cerebri, and this section is at the level of superior calculus, traversed by cerebral aqueduct, and cerebral aqueduct is surrounded by central gray matter. And these two caliculi, under these two caliculi, superior caliculi, lie nucleus of the superior calculus. And this is crus cerebri. And this is interpedunculaar fossa. And in the last structure, I have shown you a dark area known as the substantia nigra. It contains melanin pigment and also dopamine. So it is visible to the naked eye, even in section without staining. This is substantia nigra. Now can you see substantia nigra comprised of two parts? This ventral part is more cellular, known as the pars compacta, and this inner part is less cellular, giving a reticular appearance, known as the pars reticularis. So you can see this is a section through the substantia nigra. Ventral part is more cellular and compact, called pars compacta, and the dorsal part is less cellular, is known as the pars reticularis. Substantia nigra. Now the substantia nigra is one of the major part of the basal ganglia located in the midbrain, also have connection with the basal ganglion. Now using this diagram, number this is number 4. Same diagram we will use, okay. Number 3, number 4. You can see the green one is the direct pathway. So we will also draw again the green one is indirect pathway and the red one is the direct pathway. The direct pathway. From the cortex to the putamen, from the putamen to the globus pallidus internus. And from the globus internus pallidus to the thalamus. And from the thalamus, corticothalamic fibers to the motor cortex. So again, combine direct and indirect pathways so that you can understand easily. and remove confusion. Then substantia nigra, here it is drawn in this diagram number 4, showing its connection. Now substantia nigra. So what is the key in this diagram which will help you to differentiate the different pathways? Red, direct path. Green, indirect path. Now we will use black marker to draw the nigrostriatal path. Nigrostriatal path. Now the substantia nigra, the pars compacta, not reticularis. Pars compacta of substantia nigra. It influences both direct and indirect paths, both direct path and indirect path. How? The fibers arise from this pars compacta of the substantia nigra. And connect with the direct pathway. And again the fibers arising from the pars compacta enter the putamen and make connection with the indirect pathway indicated by green lines. So from the pars compacta, not reticularis, these fibers arise to enter the putamen, both. Putamen is part of striatum. So these fibers, these are known as the nigrostriatal fibers. Nigrostriatal fibers. Both these fibers. And I told you these fibers influence both direct and indirect pathway. Direct pathway with red lines, red marker, and the indirect pathway with green marker. So the pars compacta of the substantia nigra is connected both to the direct pathway and indirect pathway. Therefore, both direct and indirect pathways are under the influence of substantia nigra. Which part? Pars compacta. This is called nigrostriatal path between the substantia nigra and the striatum putamen. The rest of the pathways are same, direct and indirect pathways. So when the stimulatory pathway or direct pathway is used, which result in muscle contraction, the nigrostriatal fibers connected with the direct pathway will influence. Then when the muscles has to be relaxed, then the nigrostriatal fibers are connected with the indirect pathway, which is inhibitory pathway, as I told you, will cause muscle relaxation. This is important. Why? Because you know there are extensors versus flexors, abductors versus adductors. So if you want to flex your elbow, so the flexors of the forearm will flex, extensor will relax, so that the extensor will not resist the flexors. Then you can perform the desired movement. Similarly, if you want to extend the elbow, then the flexors will relax, extensors will contract. So the one group of muscle will be stimulated, they contract, they relax. Similarly, abductors and adductors, if you want to abduct, abductors will contract, adductors will relax, and vice versa. If you want to pronate, the pronator of the forearm will contract, supinators will be relaxed. And if you want to supinate the forearm, then supinators will contract and the pronators will be relaxed. In this way, different groups of muscles, they will relax and contract according to perform the desired movement. Now I told you that the substantia nigra, it influences both direct and indirect. Now how the pars compacta of substantia nigra will come to know that it has to activate the direct pathway or indirect pathway? How? It is by the fact that the idea of movement arises from the cerebral cortex. Then the performance, how to perform that movement, that is stored in the basal ganglion and cerebellum. It will explain, we will explain it later on in detail. So the idea comes from the cerebral cortex, and then the how to initiate the movement, that is the role of basal ganglion, and how to execute the that movement, that is again by basal ganglion and cerebellum. So all these are involved to perform these functions during movement, to perform a desired movement. Now the pars compacta, it contains dopaminergic neurons. So it has important role playing regarding both direct or stimulatory pathway and indirect or inhibitory pathway. Now what is the pars reticulus? This one. It is believed to be the downward displaced part of pars, the globus pallidus internus. The pars reticularis. Pars reticularis of substantia nigra is believed to be downward displacement of the pars reticularis of substantia nigra. Why it is believed so? Because the structure and connections of the pars of the globus pallidus internus. Pars reticularis of substantia nigra is believed to be downward displacement of the globus pallidus internus. Globus pallidus internus. Pars reticularis of substantia nigra, it is believed to be the downward displacement of the pars internus of the globus pallidus. This one. Why? Because both globus pallidus internus and the pars reticularis of substantia nigra have same connections in same function. So, because of this, they are considered as downward displacement of globus pallidus internus. And pars compacta has a very important role in the direct and indirect pathways of the cerebral hemisphere. This diagram now completes. The red lines indicate the direct or stimulatory pathway and then descending tracts. The green lines indicate the indirect pathway, which is inhibitory and result in relaxation of the muscle. And then important role of the pars compacta of the substantia nigra, which is connected with the putamen of the globus pallidus striatum by nigrostriatal fibers. So repeat, corticostriatal fibers, then there is striatopallidal fibers, then pallidothalamic fibers. Striatopallidal fibers. Then pallidothalamic fibers. Pallidothalamic fibers and thalamocortical fibers descending to direct pathway. Indirect pathway, again corticostriatal fibers. Then from the putamen to the globus pallidus externus, connected with the subthalamic nucleus of subthalamus. Then reconnected, re-enter the globus pallidus internus, and then the pallidothalamic fibers, then thalamocortical fibers, and then descending. And the pars compacta of the substantia nigra is connected to the putamen, part of the lentiform nucleus or striatum, by nigrostriatal fibers. So this is nigrostriatal pathway, direct pathway, indirect pathway, and then the nigrostriatal pathway. Now I told you how the substantia nigra comes to know that it has to stimulate the direct pathway or indirect pathway. Direct pathway stimulatory, indirect pathway inhibitory. How it comes to know? The idea is in the cerebral cortex, and the program based on previous experience is stored in the basal ganglion in the cerebellum. So the answer to this question, that how the substantia nigra knows whether it has to stimulate the direct pathway for muscle contraction or indirect pathway for muscle relaxation. From the cerebral cortex, again the nerve fibers arise. The blue color interrupted lines. Connect the cerebral cortex with the pars compacta. And so in this way, the idea and the information store is transferred to the pars compacta to either stimulate the direct pathway or indirect pathway is through this connection from cerebral cortex to the substantia nigra. It is known as corticonigral fibers. Corticonigral fibers. In this way, as this cerebral cortex is connected with the substantia nigra, then substantia nigra is able to either stimulate the direct pathway or indirect pathway according to perform the desired action. This is the answer to this question. Remember, this connection between pars compacta of substantia nigra with putamen is called nigrostriatal fibers or pathway. And this connection from the cerebral cortex to the pars compacta of substantia nigra is known as corticonigral fibers. So this is a complete diagram showing all the three pathways: direct pathway, indirect pathway, and then the nigrostriatal pathway, and the connection of the substantia nigra compacta with the cerebral cortex through corticonigral fibers. Now, what is the role of dopamine or role of substantia nigra? I will just summarize. So, role of dopamine. One thing I want to clear, I do not want to confuse more. What are the different neurotransmitters? That is the territory of physiology and biochemistry. So when the physiology department and biochemistry department are professor of physiology and biochemistry, they will dealing with the basal ganglion. So they will talk about the neurotransmitters. So the pathways, you know, what are the different neurotransmitters, just like glutamate or the substance P, glutamate, substance P, GABA, gamma amino butyric acid, and substance P, glutamine. What is glutamate? What are their roles, and at which synapses these are released, and what are their function? And comparing the function of dopamine and cholinergic fibers, dopaminergic fibers and the cholinergic fibers. All these are topics of physiology and biochemistry in detail. You will study there. Now briefly I will talk about its role. Number one, when a movement is required to perform, the idea of the movement arises in the cerebral cortex. Which cortex? Prefrontal lobule, prefrontal lobe of cerebral cortex. Idea is there. Next is the performance and plan of the movement, and then performance. Now, first of all, for example, if you want to have a cup of coffee, this is the idea in the cerebral cortex, prefrontal lobe especially. Then how to act, how to move your limb towards the cup and then towards the mouth. That is how to perform what is the planning and then performing. It is already stored in the basal ganglion and the cerebellum. Stored, or it is programmed in basal ganglion. And cerebellum. According to plan, the basal ganglion, it will initiate the movement. And for the movement, we need coordination. So coordination is must to perform that specific required movement. Then to initiate the movement, it is the responsibility or function of basal ganglion. Basal ganglion start the movement. Just start, initiate. Just like you kick start a bike. So the basal ganglion act like that. It kick start, it initiate the movement, and then according to the plan, then that movement is performed. Then from the basal ganglion, it is conveyed to the thalamus. From basal ganglion is conveyed from basal ganglion to the thalamus. So you can see in the basal ganglion, thalamus has a very important role. Idea in the cerebral cortex, then plan how to perform that desired movement. It is already stored in the basal ganglion and in the cerebellum, and it is also based on past experience. Then the movement has to be started, initiate the movement. It is the important function of basal ganglion. Just initiate the movement, desired movement. Then all this information about that movement is then conveyed to the thalamus. From the basal ganglion, this information is conveyed to the thalamus. So this is thalamus, although it is not direct pathway of the, is part of the basal ganglion, but still it has very important role in the performing the function of the basal ganglion. Then you can see this information from the thalamus is then transferred to the cerebral cortex through thalamocortical fibers. Transferred to thalamus, to the cerebral cortex, to the cerebral cortex. Now everything is ready. From the cerebral cortex, these impulses, they are conveyed via descending tracts. From cerebral cortex, motor cortex, From motor cortex via descending tracts that is upper motor neuron, and then to lower motor neurons, pass to the muscles. And number 7, if the direct pathway, if the direct path is stimulated, it will result in muscle contraction. To perform the desired movement. Now, if indirect pathway is involved, it will result in muscle relaxation. So this is just a summary of this whole system, from cerebral cortex to the basal ganglion, then role of the substantia nigra, thalamus, cerebral cortex, then descending tracts, upper motor neurons, then lower motor neurons, the nerve which pass to the periphery and supply the muscles. And if the direct pathway is acute, the muscles will contract, and indirect pathway is acute, then the muscle is relaxed. And this is, I have already explained. Then suppose if this is a cup of coffee and there is idea in your cerebral cortex, that is you want to have a cup of coffee, then how to move the arm towards the cup of coffee. This is already programmed in basal ganglion and cerebellum. Just the cerebral cortex order the basal ganglion and the cerebellum. The program is already, the movements are already programmed in the basal ganglia and cerebellum. Then via thalamus, cerebral cortex, descending tracts, some muscles contract and some relax. For example, this is a cup of coffee. So what you'll do, you'll first extend your elbow. Why? Extensor contract, flexor relax. Then you'll pronate your forearm. Pronators contract and the supinators relaxed. Then you will contract the long flexors of the fingers. So long flexors of the fingers will contract and extensors will relax. Then you will do opposite movement. You will flex the elbow, flexors contract, the extensor relaxed. Okay? Then you again pronate your forearm to direct the cup of coffee towards your mouth. The pronators they contract and the supinators they relax. So this is already programmed, and in this way direct and indirect way pathways are involved. So one group of muscle contract, the other relax. If both the group of muscle contract, the movement become impossible and the body become rigid. This is what happens in Parkinsonism, the rigidity. Why? Both flexors and extensors, adductors of the limbs, of the trunk, they are in the form of contractor, muscle tone is decreased, and the whole body become rigid and difficult to perform the desired movement. So this is why that I told you that these connections are very important to understand the different effects of lesions of the basal ganglion, its connection, substantia nigra, for example, Parkinsonism, for example, chorea. For this also it is very important to know the neurotransmitter that is the subject of physiology in biochemistry. So I have tried my best to have a clear concept of the direct pathway, indirect pathway, role of the substantia nigra, nigrostriatal pathway, and how they act and what is the complete circuit in this way. And the neurotransmitter you will study from physiology and biochemistry. So this was about the connections of the basal ganglion, which are very important. So thank you very much. And Eid Mubarak in advance.